I remember somebody bringing those in, but I don't.
I can't remember what it was, yeah, so I do too.
Where are we?
You ready? Okay. Call this meeting of the City County Commissioners order for Thursday, December 27th. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, please bow your heads, join me in a short prayer. Heavenly Father, we thank you for another beautiful day. We thank you for the Christmas season and for the birth of your Son. We thank especially those men and women who are fighting to protect our freedoms. We ask you to watch them in a special way and watch their families as well. We ask you for the wisdom to do your will. We ask all this through your Son. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, let us talk about roll call here.
Commissioner Kirschner?
Here.
Commissioner Stacy?
Here.
Commissioner Thomas?
Here.
Okay. I will accept the motion to approve the digital audio video recording of the previous session held December 18th.
So moved?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Commissioner Stacy?
Yes.
Commissioner Kirschner?
Yes. Okay. Adjustments to the agenda, I think, per Commissioner Thomas's thought process, we may change how we do this and have a report from each of the commissioners and hopefully the administrator in the future. But for now, are there any adjustments? No?
Looked like a pained look on Stacy's face when she said it.
Just trying to get through this year.
Okay, that we will. I
Almost
promise.
there. Just a few more days.
Just, yeah, the tape is right there. Okay, so 2018 in review. Commissioner Thomas?
Yeah, I just thought it'd be nice to take a moment and kind of review some of the things that we accomplished in the past year. Of course, we don't do anything alone. We do it with a lot of help from a lot of different people and agencies. But you know, I just kind of put together a list and thought we would go over it. We're more involved in certain particular issues than others. Some of the things that were done in 2018 were certainly, the foundation was laid by previous boards, and some of the stuff we did in 2018 lays the foundation for future boards. So it's one thing I've learned since I've been in this office, that you know, things take time.
It's true.
So you know, if I've got my list here, our list, I guess, that we've worked on together. If we want to talk about some of the things that were completed in 2018, obviously the top of the list is the Justice Center, getting that complete. So kudos to you all and the leadership team and previous boards who laid the foundation for that, and our staff for following up and making it happen. No injuries, which is, I think, the most important thing.
Yeah.
Not among us, but
Yeah.
among the people who do it.
Contractors, that's right.
Both, actually.
Hurt feelings don't count.
And I think a year ago, we were putting together or awaiting parts of a cupola. I mean, it was,
Yes, we were.
and we had a lot more snow then than we did.
Right. And I think fairly well contained in this entire year was the renovation of juvenile probate. That was, you know, soup to nuts. They moved in, we started the project, and once it was vacated, that's another great accomplishment. And it's hard to believe that the LED lights on the cupola haven't been there a full year, because it's become such a part of the community.
Yeah,
And
I agree.
it feels like it's always been there. How do you want to talk about the time capsule a little bit?
Yeah, that was another part of it. Obviously, we got the time capsule, that process that was not all in 2018, but started back when we got moving with the plans and construction schedule for the Justice Center. But thanks to lots of people across this community, we completed that and have locked her up. So, sidewalks repair, Courthouse Square. I think the sidewalk around the Gibson statue was part of that. The rest of it, I don't know who all led that, but we all worked on making that happen and how that completes things. Now, obviously, next year we'll say we completed landscaping, right?
Cross our fingers.
Hopefully, and that'll really put finishing touches on it. And when we were at the conference, talking to Silling, I was giving a hard time because they didn't have a picture of the Justice Center amongst their marketing materials at the County Commissioners and Engineers Conference. And he says, until you have landscaping, I'm not allowed to get those pictures taken. So where we're at.
Mike, you want to talk about the budget stabilization and the strategic planning? That was.
Sure, we tried to do, as we talked about at the time, do kind of the opposite of what government seems to want to do, and that is rather than borrow money from our children and grandchildren, maybe put a little bit in a savings account for them. So we have done that, and we have established a budget stabilization fund that can only be used in the event that there are years when there's operational shortfalls when it comes to generating income. So that money is, I think, $125 a quarter or $150 a quarter. Is that what we decided?
Yeah, we did three payments this year, so there's $375.
So it's $375 in that account. We'll continue to do that as we can as the years go on. I will leave the active transportation to Commissioner Thomas.
Yeah, the active transportation, we completed that plan. That was over 2 years. We've been working on that. And so now we have a plan for bike lanes, bike routes, human powered transportation across the county. And that'll be something foundational that the rest of the future boards and trustees and cities can work on, villages work off of. And it gives us a platform now to go seek funding for ODOT. And of course, the next thing is the demolition of the Attica Eagles, which is really another great signature event where we had a lot of cooperation from the prosecutor, from the treasurer, from private sector, the auditor's office. I think everybody touched this project, FEDC and
Health Department.
Health Department, absolutely, thank you. And as well as the Legion and the Patriot Day Salute. So that was a really fantastic example of a private-public partnership and cooperation among the elected. We need to replicate that.
Yeah.
And I think that's the kind of thing that emanates from the Justice Center cooperation. And we had cooperation there, and we need to keep talking about that.
The fair stuff, I think, Shane, you had the foresight of let's make sure they know the money's there, so versus last minute. But we had a request from, I think, Attica Fair about needing some additional funding for things. In the past, we have done that, but like I said, with the foresight to put some extra funding in place and let them know that they had it in 18 and that they're getting that same amount in 2019, and we budgeted accordingly. That helps them prepare and make plans and leverage that money a little bit as they're raising additional funds to finish up the way they're utilizing that money and or other projects. And I'm just gonna segue into number 10 here, the resurrection of the OSU Extension, it's the ag educator position. And just obviously, that one has been 6 years in the making. From when I first became a commissioner, that, the interest was out there, started learning what that interest was, what that niche should be, and what specializations we wanted in that position, etc. And got to the point in place and person hired as of the beginning of October. So got to see that one checked off the list, kind of a thing. So great things happening there.
Mike, you want to talk about the law library and the land bank? I mean, you were instrumental
Sure,
in the law library decision.
Well, yeah, law library, I think that's kind of an ongoing process. Right now, we're talking about having a place in the annex where counsel, attorneys can come down and look up new cases, et cetera. But the law library is up and running in a new location. We've had a lot of back and forth conversation about where to put that, and actually if we're even going to have it. But so now Susan Herring Howard is the law librarian. That's changed over the last year. And we also have a location in the annex, or will soon, where attorneys can come down and use that in between cases if they need to research things. I think the land bank is a real big issue here, you know, that's been established. I think it was established in 17, actually. But it really started to be active in 18. At last count, there are more than 100 properties that have either been demolished or renovated. It started out mostly in Fostoria, and I think there have been 97 properties in Fostoria now that have either been raised or are on the block to be renovated. They all have to be owner occupied when that's done. We will be having another meeting here soon, but you know, the idea here, as everyone knows, is to make certain these properties get back on the tax rolls and are utilized for to eliminate the blight and to maybe make nice additional lots for people that own the houses. So we'll go on then to website media reboot.
Stacy, you want to talk about the
website. Well, we were lucky enough to have Jimmy Flint come on board as a contract service for the end of last year, and one of our main goals was having, you know, the website redeveloped, easier access, more visibility, along with social media, and he's done a wonderful job. Him and Jake worked on the website, got it up and running, and you know, we're still taking suggestions from the public, you know, tweaking it a little bit, but we've gotten a bunch of positive responses for the website and social media, and definitely improved how it looked, improved how it worked.
And I think the awareness level of countywide activity
right?
across departments and those that are sort of, but not really under our direct umbrella, whether that's the health department or regional planning or DJFS. Yes, and you know, that there's all those connections, but I think it's just been phenomenal, what awareness and that people understanding all that's going on. There's so much more outside of what happens in here on a weekly basis.
Do you want to talk about technology, Holly?
Yeah, technology's been another one that's been forthcoming for a while, but to, you know, get us to the next level of the technology, you know, connectivity for all of our departments as we were progressing with the Justice Center, knowing we needed to get things moved, and if we could get for security reasons, for usability, for access for the public to understand things. Some of the departments were limited based on what they had, and we didn't want to keep investing in individual pockets of updating this person's technology and their ability and theirs, all of that. So the fiber ring came about, again, thanks to money. The 911 was kind of a leading pusher of this. There was a deadline to the factor of making sure we went to the next generation for 911 across Seneca County. And so there was money set aside for that. So putting it all together, getting the fiber ring, and it's moving along.
I think all the fiber is in the ground, so they just need to complete the connections at all the ends, and I think the Fostoria connection, the fiber is there, they just gotta get it in the building. So our target completion of that would be March, so I think we're doing good. So.
And along with that was the data center.
Yeah, and the data center came with that, with the construction of the Justice Center, renovating a little bit of space in the existing annex building, which is now still all part of the Justice Center, but we knew we'd be able to get that established then, once the move occurred, so that we would have one secure location for all that connectivity to come into. Again, the security and the technology maintenance of that in one place versus, I'll say 27, and it's probably more than that, servers across the county in individual departments. Now we've got things that all to be in one location, so that's just a big improvement.
Yeah, and then just to knock a couple of these out, you know, we had 81 Jefferson that was in our inventory as a building, and we were really fretting with what we were going to do with that because we had a lot of storage in that building. And just as things worked out, you know, a little bit of Kirshner magic, we were able to get the documents out into better storage and the building down and off to a better purpose. And so I couldn't be more pleased, because when I took office, that was a real conundrum. And, you look down there now where it was, and it's surprising that we fretted so much about it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a really good thing. And, we did pass the budget as early as we could this year. I don't know that it's ever been passed earlier, but we got it done in November. We had some Medicaid transition money that we didn't spend, and we have that in our rainy day fund, so to speak. So I think that's all good, as well as reorganizing downtown county parking, which is another work in process. But it seems to be working at this moment. So
Yeah, I go back to 81 Jefferson. We had some self-imposed drop dead dates there that we fretted over, right?
We did.
Getting stuff out of there, but we got it done. And
Special thanks to Juvenile Probate Court and all their staff from going through their documents, eliminating documents that they could, and Jean at the clerk of courts, and thank them for,
yeah, and the maintenance guys.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
jail crew.
Yeah.
And that great,
Yeah, that's right. Well, I think the pivot drug court is something we certainly ought to be proud of. I mean, there was special legislation passed in the state of Ohio, specifically for Seneca County, to allow this program to happen, and they've been extremely successful. There are a number of folks in that program who might not have otherwise been in recovery at this point who are. As you know, it's a non-penal recovery type of a situation. The judges have worked very hard, all three judges, Shuff, Calbley, and Mark Repp. They take turns on Thursdays holding this court. It's above and beyond, really, their normal responsibilities, but they've taken this on as an example for the rest of the state, and there's a lot of eyes watching this, eagerly hoping that it does work, and there is a way to maybe counsel these folks into recovery. And so far, the rate of people staying in the program is much higher than it is in other court situations where there is a potential penalty imposed if they don't comply. So that's really been a good thing, and we continue on with the strategic plan. All these things, many of these things are part of technology, infrastructure, and buildings that we're trying to stay focused on to make certain that we have a plan for those. We're in the process of looking at the south side of Tiffin and all the buildings we have out there, and to see whether or not those make sense. My fellow commissioners have been very active with that. But the one thing that I wanted to say that really is the fiber of this, and I looked down the list, it's almost, it kind of winds its way through everything, and that is the volunteerism in the county. Look, I mean, I think that they are really the fabric of the community. When we look at the completion of the Justice Center, there are a lot of people on the Justice Center team who basically were volunteers. There's people who submitted drawings and were part of this thing. When we did the time capsule, Holly will tell you that she had that up, but
Yep.
there were a lot of folks who voluntarily put stuff in, right? The school system did, et cetera. And when you talk about the emergency medical technicians across the county and the volunteer firemen, fire folks across the county, how important that is. And we recently had the NOAA dinner, and there were just about as many volunteers as there were as there were people coming. This year, by the way, it was like 1,080. I think it was in the paper today, of folks that were served. But just across the spectrum, whether it be the museum board, or whether it be the library board, or the United Way board, or economic development board, there are literally thousands of people who volunteer their time, and they are really the folks that inspire me to continue trying to get things accomplished, because they are giving of their time freely, time, treasure, and talent in most cases to make certain they're all heading in the right direction. So kudos to all those folks out there. They know who they are. To try to go through a litany of list of those things, we'd miss somebody for sure. But thanks, my deep appreciation to all those folks.
Probably one to add to this, and you just touched on it with the EMS, but this was not volunteer, but we did this was the first year we went full-time with ECHO, wasn't it? Was in 2018, and that started last January.
Yep.
So that we had the ECHO 24/7.
Yep.
So, and that's the backup unit headquartered out of the facilities that we have on the fairgrounds. So as those calls come in, they can begin to head out towards the spot where needed in case if somebody's if somebody's out of service and or they don't know if they're gonna get there or they need more manpower. And that gets them the medics and other things that they may or may not have, so.
Yeah. It's good to pause and look back at everything that
Yeah,
happened
it
in
is.
a single year.
Yeah.
And certainly all worthwhile things, and there's probably a list that long that we want to do in the next year, so.
Yeah.
Get up and grind.
Yeah.
Okay, so the law library is next. We kind of touched on that, but,
Yep. I think
what's-
she officially sent me up a letter that I forwarded you. They want to kind of put a little desk, a little workstation in the vestibule. If you can picture it, it's on the, I'm not no good with north, south, east, and west, but it's on the Court Street side. There's a little
it's on the northwest corner.
northwest corner. It's where all of the, Melinda used to have her security equipment
Yeah.
sitting in there, and once that was going to be vacated, we kind of moved all that security that we could into the secure area on the other side. So there's a little nook there that could be possible, and they said she talked to all the judges and both juvenile probate and common pleas, Judge Rep and Jean. And they were all supportive of this. I'm guessing the law library is going to pay for the computer.
Yeah, the
and
law library's
the
gonna pay
desk
for everything, and the law library
just-
board is fully in support. Just
just-
try and push services out to the attorneys.
Yeah, from what I understand, what counsel has said is if they are on recess in a trial, or if there's a subject comes up in the trial that they need to do some quick research on, they'll be able to come down there and do their research and get back, so it'll be more efficient.
So I think that the judges have asked us to kind of endorse their decision, so
Yeah.
I would move that we accept their recommendation.
Okay,
Second,
good. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Commissioner Stacy?
yes.
Commissioner Fisher?
Yes. Okay, any other agenda items? All right, let's get on with the supplemental appropriations.
Okay. I have the resolution approving all supplemental appropriations and appropriation adjustments submitted through the VIP system for the board session of December 27th, 2018, which includes a supplemental appropriation to our transfers outline for $100,000. That is for the final cash to get the Justice Center closed out. I was expecting to get payments from the city yet this year, but the furniture, we've still not paid the furniture because there was a couple missing items yet, so we won't be getting the revenue from the city, so we needed to adjust the cash. Once we get the funds closed out, anything left in the fund obviously will come back to the general fund. I have some decreases just to kind of help clean up the Justice Center. We're doing a decrease in the Justice Center fund for $141,788.68. And we're doing a decrease for the Wolf Creek Petition Ditch Fund for $16,240 in the Contract Service Fund. Then I have the transfer be made to the Justice Center Fund. This is the $100,000 in transfers out, plus we had $100 there. So we're moving the $200,000. And I have a resolution establishing the HRSA grant fund. And let me see if it says what that is. It is for mental health,
Yeah.
yes. But I don't know what the HRSA stands for. It's not in here.
I don't think it was on the paper she gave us.
Was it? Okay, all right. It's for mental health and recovery services.
Yeah.
I have a resolution appointing Greg Ettinger to the WSOS Community Action Commission for a one-year term commencing January 1st, 2019.
Oh, really? That's good.
Fire.
Paul's not gonna be over anywhere.
Nope.
Okay.
And
Oh, I'd say-
expiring December 31st, 2019. Yep, Paul Harris is that,
Okay.
And somebody said
Did they
that,
go through?
I was gonna say, Nikki said that WSOS had made the contact with
Yep.
Greg. Because I thought we would be discussing on, who to put there and that kind of thing, but I guess if they have somebody and talk to him.
Yeah, that's
Greg would
good, that's a good thing. Greg will be a good addition there.
Did they go through a name change though? I mean, is
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Great Lakes.
Yeah, Great Lakes Partnership.
Community Action.
Great Lakes Community Action Partnership.
But
Yeah.
I'll
Yeah,
look at the
GL
letter that
cap.
they sent me though, because I went off their letter.
So we'll amend that to be Great Lakes Community Action Partnership.
The letter should be attached, is the new name on their
Is it?
letter?
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's on the letterhead.
Is
Okay.
it? Okay.
Great Lakes Community Partnership.
Okay.
Community Action
I'm
Partnership.
glad, yeah.
It's another one we gotta get used to, the change, the TSEP and. Okay, I have a resolution entering into an agreement contract with Tyler Technologies on behalf of the Seneca County Auditor. This is with her real estate, software. And I have a resolution entering into an agreement contract, with the Appraisal Research Corporation on behalf of the Seneca County Auditor. This is for their 2019 appraisal. I have a resolution hiring Jimmy Flint as the Public Relations effective January 1, 2019. He did let me know that he wasn't gonna be here today, but he's gonna watch the video, so. Welcome aboard.
So this is where we would sneak in some small print,
Yeah, on the fine print since he's not here. Yep,
besides all of the duties as assigned.
yep, exactly. And then I do have, the one that we kind of tabled last week, if you want me to add it. It was for the prosecutors, and the city of Tiffin's office. I didn't know, Shane, if you had a chance to kind of look it over or if you had any more
Yeah, I'm
questions.
fine with it.
Okay, so then I have the resolution authorizing an amendment for the contract between the city of Tiffin and the Seneca County Prosecutor's Office. And that is all the resolutions I have.
Okay, what's your pleasure here, folks?
Move to approve the resolutions as presented.
Second?
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Commissioner Stacy?
Yes.
Commissioner Kirschner?
Yes. Yeah, the treasurer's software signature for the new technology reminds me, the VIP software with SSI, that contract was signed back in the day by Larry Bilochis, who was the then auditor. There has been some confusion over the time that I've looked at it as to whether or not the contracting individual or entity for the software is the county or the auditor. Now, I understand there was, at some point in time in history, it was the county who administered that software. That was then changed back to the auditor. My concern about that is that the software doesn't only affect the auditor's office, it affects basically all the electeds and many folks that in their departments. So my question is, and I think this has been a discussion that's happened before, but my question is, why isn't the commission, the county, the signer on that software, and not specifically the auditor?
We're the contracting authority on everything else, right?
Yeah.
And I think because of the tie-ins, I guess maybe did not have that, not that they haven't been willing, obviously, to bear that, but with the, as mentioned before, the non-direct county umbrella that utilize it as well.
Yeah, well,
TTFS, the
here's
health
what my-
department, right?
Yeah, and I think that there just hasn't been a contract agreement update.
Right, we pulled contract
Since-
agreements from, the 90s, somewhere along the way, and, they're 20 years old, most of the agreements at this point in time. We've had amendments. My concern, or my problem, I guess, with it is that, with one elected being the main contact from our major vendor for software, they may have suggestions for modifications to the software, or upgrades to maintenance agreements, or different components or modules that may be available that we may never hear about. And when there comes time for training, or there come times for an update to the software, all the training is scheduled through the auditor's office as opposed to being scheduled through here. And really, one of the main concerns that I have at this point in time is we're now putting our largest number of employees on that software, being DJFS. right? So they're on as of the first of the year, and, you know, for one elected office to have control of that software for all the employees of the county doesn't compute to me. Maybe, you know, maybe there's something I'm missing here.
Yeah. I would think maybe it's a burden they, you know, might be relieved to not have. I don't know that, but for the reasons you just stated, I think it makes sense for it to be as our other contracts are.
Yeah, I would think so, but I mean, I wanna make certain that, that we're all aware of the fact that the same discussion happened under a different commission, and that the decision was made to allow the auditor to be the main contact. So it won't come without some, pushback, I don't believe.
Well, aren't we typically the contracting authority on all other contracts? I mean, are there any other examples where we aren't the contracting agency? That's my question.
The only one that,
Or that would have approval of it or something.
that I know of that has been, not ours is the state audit. The state auditors had come in at one point and said that they only needed, the auditor's signature on that.
But that, I mean,
That is the only one that I know of. All contracting authority goes through the commission.
Because even
Commissioners
Mark
are-
stuff comes through us.
Yeah.
but if there are some things that are specific to an elected's duties, I get that. You know, I mean, if there was software that was specific to the clerk, that, you know, just had a little module for her stuff that she had to take care of, I kinda understand that. But this is the software, the VIP software that the entire county uses. You know, it kinda came to my attention because I called them and asked them to come in and do some things, and they said, well, we'd have to kinda get Julie's permission to come. Well, no, I don't think so, but that's kind of the attitude that they have, and understandably, it's not their fault.
No.
You know, their contact person is, and then if we wanna talk to them, we kinda have to go through a layer to get to them.
Well, you know, as far as I know, the Ohio Revised Code's pretty clear on who the contracting authority is for the county. I mean, I don't know why we wouldn't follow that. I mean, that's why I didn't create the laws, we're just supposed to follow them.
Right.
So, that's just the way it's parsed out, so I don't know why.
Even just like the two contracts that we just did, we do it on behalf of the auditor
Sure.
because it's their, but it's still, we are the contracting authority. We have to sign the contract or it's
Right.
not valid, so, you know, we put in there and, you know, for the auditor, but it's still our
The
contract.
checks and balances that are built into the Ohio Constitution
Yeah.
is what it is, and that's the way the county government operates. So I don't know why we would deviate from that, somebody would have to make an argument to me that there's some reason why we would deviate from that, even with the audit. I mean, why we would not be the contracting agency for the audit. I mean, I just don't know why we wouldn't be.
Well, what I would propose, if you guys go along with it, is that I would propose a memo or a note to the auditor saying that we have some concerns about who the signing authority is for this software for the county, and that we are proposing that the signing authority or that the final authority be given to the commission for future decisions. If there are any reasons that you are uncomfortable with this or you want to have a conversation about it, let us know. We plan to take action in the near future. At least give an opportunity to
Right,
come up with an argument if there is one.
yeah, I mean, I think that's fair.
I really think we should have them just update the contract in general, because
Yeah,
we know their
that's for
fees
sure.
aren't the same, that it was in 1997, there was actually some dollar amounts to the service agreements, maintenance agreements that obviously we're not still being charged, and I
Right.
don't, you know. so-
Well,
Yeah,
there's-
and I value Julie's opinion. I mean, obviously,
Absolutely.
we went through
Absolutely.
these, we used to approve 2 contracts for her. She's very satisfied with those vendors, and, you know, in the Board of Revisions, I've worked with both of them, you know, and they do a great job. So, you know, she does a fine job picking vendors and has more expertise than us. But I just think from an Ohio Revised Code standpoint, that we're kind of that speed bump and that check and that balance on that, so.
Well, I think that we, I mean, not that we don't now, but we would have an opportunity to know when these contracts are coming due.
Right.
If we do want to get other bids. I mean, one of the conversations we had about this VIP software was that, it was taking more time than they thought it was gonna take, and a couple of the electeds actually suggested that we go out and get bids for different software.
Right,
So I don't know that we are in tune with that,
right.
with those dates.
Without seeing it.
Without seeing it and having it here. Okay. So that's what we'll do. We'll contact her and ask if there's any reason that we shouldn't be the signing authority. Okay, anything else? Okay, it's time for public comment. Yes?
Just have a comment on the review that you just had.
Yeah,
You know, I've been coming to these meetings for nearly 20 years. I think that was the greatest thing I've ever seen or heard today.
well, thank
That
you.
review.
It was Mr. Thomas's idea.
Uh,
Credit where credit is due,
I
yeah.
enjoyed that, and I think the public will too.
Good.
Thank you.
Yes, Christopher English.
Hello. My name's Chris English, 122 Sunny Lane. And I intend to put my name before Central Committee for the appointment for treasurer. And Holly, I'm going to use a lot of the stuff in your newsletter because it was as far as the process. The Central Committee will have kind of a vetting committee or to narrow down candidates. Unfortunately, Central Committee will not vote on the replacement until like the 7th?
February 7th, yeah, that's the planned date.
So, you know, it's a few days after Damon will leave office and move over to the courts. Then, for that short period of time, I discovered that you as the commissioners will appoint a temporary replacement until Central Committee votes on the final choice. So I'm visiting today. I think you received an email this week with my background. Holly did mention it's one of the offices in the county that really doesn't have any requirement as far as background, not even adding and subtracting, if I remember your comment. But I think you'll find with Damon over his 9 years, with his CPA certificate, also a Juris Doctorate, that he has done a tremendous job automating the revenue stream coming into the county, whether it's ACH, payment of bills through credit cards. And the land bank, as Mike had mentioned, he has taken his department and they are the ones that are not only keeping track of revenues, they're keeping track of the expense. I assume that's required of the state of Ohio, so they make sure funds are being used. So he has certainly, you know, done a lot of things in his 9 years. I am retired, been in industry as a CFO for the last 25 years of my tenure. I'm a CPA inactive, state of Ohio. As you will see in my bio, I've served on several voluntary boards, and most of the time, because of the bean counting experience, I was the treasurer. Not in the same definition as what the county treasurer is. I've also had the exposure to fund accounting, which is being used, you know, not only for our school districts. I sat on Tiffin City School Board, Vanguard Vocational Board, and currently on the Seneca County Library Board. So I feel I have the experience. I do have the knowledge as far as debits and credits, and I think that is a valuable asset to the seat. So I'm just kind of tooting my own horn for you guys, and hopefully for that temporary assignment that you would consider me for that time. One other comment that's a little frustrating is whoever the successful candidate is going to be, with Damon leaving on February 1 for the replacement not to start, there's no shadow time. And Damon and I talked about that a little bit. Certainly in the month of January, especially if, not trying to presume that Central Committee would appoint me in the end, but I would like to spend time and shadow Damon in the month of January, just, you know, before he leaves the office. So if you have questions for me, I'm willing to answer, or give me a call.
Yeah, I guess the only thing I would say is Chris and I were in a heated competition for the commissioner race, and
I think
he
it
was
heated.
he was always eminently a gentleman, and it was a very positive, clean campaign. He had a lot of good supporters, and he worked very hard at his campaign, so I'm sure he would campaign hard as a treasurer. So always informed, always a gentleman. So I just wanted to make sure that everybody's understands how that process went, and you know, my
Do we have any specific time frame for the interviews, Central Committee, do you know?
Other than I know the date to make the decision is based on code, you know, it has to be the
Right.
vacant position so many days and not any longer than so many days.
Right.
But I don't know, I think, I didn't see the ad in the paper, but it was in, and I think somebody told me January 10th was the deadline submission date for anybody interested. Is that, do you know, was that, Jim's on Central Committee?
Yeah.
Okay,
That's,
yeah, the 10th.
we are accepting cover letters and resumes up to January 10th.
Okay,
From January 10th till February 7th, we will review those, and then the central committee will make an appointment.
and there's the Central Committee established, and I think that might have been the document Chris was alluding to, that a proposal I presented to them if we had more than 2 candidates. Because there's something that if there's 10 or more in our bylaws of the Central Committee, not the Board of Commissioners here, but there wasn't anything for if there was less than 10, but you could have 7, 8, 6, 2, 3. If there's more than 2, to have a little bit of a vetting committee, just as, you know, not to make a recommendation to the whole committee, but they'll take them through that process, and I have no idea. They probably gotta wait till after the deadline date to know how many candidates they have if they need to enact that committee, is where they're at, I assume.
Commissioner Stacy, I'd like to thank you for putting that addendum in, because the last thing I want to do is be there past my bedtime on the.
Well, I'm hoping it helps the process.
I hope it does too.
Any other comments or questions today? Mr. Klein?
I am here, and I want to thank you for giving me this opportunity. I am here to endorse and support my friend, Mr. English. I don't want to belabor the qualifications. You've all been provided with that. I would like to talk about his character. He's a fine man. He's been married to his lovely wife, Connie, for 35 years. He's been...
That's more Connie's credit than his though, right?
Well, that could be. Together they
I'm not
have
real
raised,
sure.
together they have raised 3 beautiful children, and I've known him, and I really respect him, and I think that you 3 should give him strong consideration for the person that will fill that chair from February 1st through February 7th. Thank you.
Well, I think the one thing you didn't mention, I know is no small task, you've been treasurer for Mr. Reineke's campaign now for how many years? 6?
Since the inception, when he,
Yeah, okay.
With the writing,
It's been a
so-
while, I know, and
Yeah.
knowing all of us have had to fill out those forms, so. we-
So much fun.
We can appreciate that work, yeah. I'm sure it's multiplied by hundreds for him, yes.
And I think maybe an unanswered part, as you just said, Jim, February, whatever from, well, we need the temp. I don't know how long that really takes because of the certifications that have to happen to the appointed, the appointed person needs to do.
Yeah.
And they can't do until they're the appointed person. I'm not sure when they can or can't take office, I don't.
Well, you know, there's a whole lot of assumptions that we will have to go along the way.
Yeah.
But I like Chris's thinking. He wants to be in there for a good part of January, not in a paid position or anything like that, to just learn what goes on. Because if he is approved or nominated by the Central Committee and takes office on February 8th, it will be an absolute baptism by fire, because that's when all the taxes start coming in. So I would hope that he would be able to be in there learning about what goes on in that office, so he isn't blindsided.
Yeah.
So,
Demon just said to have thick skin during collection time. So.
I mean, not everybody's happy about paying their taxes.
Okay, any other comments? Hearing none, it is 10:45.
Before we adjourn, our schedule is such as we have nothing next week, right?
Correct.
Reorganization is I'm just making sure I got it right. January
January
8th,
8th, yeah.
10 o'clock here.
Yeah, be here, that'll be a fun day, Tom.
And we tentatively set up the next two, we don't know what reorg will do with the
Right.
schedule, that's when we set that, but we did set up tentatively the next two Tuesdays, 15th, 22nd, to be 10 o'clock meetings
Yes.
here.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we were
And-
going
I
to.
wrote it on
Waiving-
my little trusty calendar.
And not doing the last week of the month.
And nothing in the last week of
And
January.
then
'cause
starting
I
in
know I'm at
February.
OTA. Okay.
We're gonna start Thursdays.
That's the plan.
That's the tentative plan, okay. We can't officially do that until, okay.
So-
I think
Okay,
we
yeah,
can
it
do
does
it,
say
right?
Yeah.
I think we can do it.
We
Yeah,
can
so
do
the
it.
first three.
I mean, we did do it, I
Right.
think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess we did, I guess the reorg meeting just sets it all in one resolution.
Is
formally.
usually where we, yeah, but we can set
We
it.
can, and therefore we will.
Yes.
Mike, were you
whatever.
going to any of the DeWine stuff?
Inauguration stuff? I don't think so.
Okay.
I-
Just because the inauguration gala is Monday,
Yeah, I know.
and then we have a Tuesday morning meeting. It's-
Oh, maybe we should
Yeah,
slide that
I,
meeting
uh,
back a little later.
That's the only
Because I'm
thing
planning to
there's.
go to Columbus.
I'm-
I mean, it's possible that I will, but I would be back as well.
Okay.
I mean, we could back it up if you wanted, but you guys can go.
Yeah,
Mike
let's-
has some commitments that afternoon, right? You want to
Yes,
go on a Tuesday, so
yeah.
you don't want to back it up too far.
Yeah, let's, as the time gets closer, we can see. I mean, the 8th, we're okay, right?
Yep.
The 8th, we're okay.
Okay, so let's just, yeah, we can talk about it that
Sure.
day if there's anything that happens.
Okay, no worries.
Okay, now can I?
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
We're adjourned.